welcome to the Noob Spearo podcast. My name is Shrek, the host of this sucker, interviewing spearfishing experts, authorities, and characters from around the world. Today it's Sam Wild, South Sea Spearos nut. He's the founder of MAHI Spearfishing NZ. He's a genuinely cool, down-to-earth bloke, and we've kind of been circling each other for a long, long time. It was the first time I really got to sit down and have a decent chat with him. He's such a cool dude, an avid hunter above and below the water, and he just really gets that Kiwi lifestyle vibe. And let's just say I dig up a few not so well-known things about him from his past. We have some good fun having a chat in this interview. Follow Sam in the Wild _ on Instagram. He's a really cool guy. Have a look at some of his photography. It's absolutely banging. Before we get into this interview with Sam, I've got a couple of quick shout-outs. Right now, the focus and the Noob Spearo HQ is 99 Spearo recipes. Go and get yourself a copy or two or three. If you buy one copy, it's 50 Australian dollars. Two, it's $90. Three, it's 120. So you can get a discount. And if you're giving fish to your family and friends, it's a really good gift because you're teaching them how to make the most of your catch and stuff like that. So thoroughly encourage that. We've also got Mother's Day around the corner. So get into it, get amongst it, get yourself a copy of 99 Spearo recipes from noobspearo.com or a fantastic spearfishing retailer near you, and I'll go into them in just a real quick minute. I've got a cool comp starting. If you have got a Noob Spearo bit of merch, like a hat or a Spearo Dad shirt or a Jobfish tribute shirt or a Rancid Pelican number or a sticker or something, I'd love to see some photos of the community in our gear. And for the month of April and May 2023, if you can tag us on Instagram or Facebook with a photo of you in the gear, you could win some more gear. You're going to get a signed copy of 99 Spearo recipes and potentially another free t-shirt of your choice. So jump on there, get amongst it. All you got to do is tag Noob Spearo with your bit of Noob Spearo kit on, and you can win some more gear. Thanks also to everyone else that's gone to noobspearo.com, jumped up in the store and bought something. It lets us know what to make more of, and there's going to be some more stuff happening in this new year, so I'm pretty excited about that. Spearfishing retailers stocking 99 Spearo recipes. Got Spearfishing Superstore in Cairns, Spear West in Perth, Boss Outdoors, Marimbula, and their other store has also got it, I believe. Fergo's Tackle World in Wollongong, Batavia Coast Dive and Water Sports, Adreno Aspley in Brisbane North, Adreno Wollongabba in Brisbane South, Adreno Gold Coast, Adreno Melbourne, Adreno Sydney, Adreno Perth, Type of Tackle in Northland, New Zealand, I've got it. Neptune Spear and Dive in Mackay, I've got it. East to West Freediving in British Columbia, I've got it. Spearfishing UK and Cornwall, UK, I've got it. Gear Taku by Derek in Perth has it. Thwaites Marine in Coffs Harbour, I've got it. Exmouth Tackle and Camping Supplies, I've got it. Steve's got them there. Sky Spearfishing in Scotland. Talk to Aaron, he's got some. Barbecues and More in Browns Plains have also got it. And the stores continue to sort of stack up and come on board. And it's in large part to you guys who are spreading the message, taking a copy of the book in and showing some of these store owners what a cool thing that we've made, our community have made. Last but not least, Patreon legends powering this podcast. There's 45 of them supporting the show on an episode-by-episode basis. If you want to join them, you love the show, go to patreon.com/Noob Spearo, sign up on an episode-by-episode basis. It could be as simple as $2 an episode, but it all makes a difference and puts fuel in the outboard. There's never any obligation to stay on there, but absolutely love the people that invest in this podcast and thing we're doing. Hey, Sam Wild today. We get right into distilling the Great White experience, and as I said, I dig up some not so well known things about him from his past for the most part. Hey, let's get into it. Sam Wild is right. Adreno stocks equipment for noobers, the gear you need for all things freediving and spearfishing. The Adreno spearfishing team froth on helping customers learn about the latest in spearfishing equipment, local diving, upcoming trips and events for Spearos of all levels of experience. There's no ego in there. You're going to meet cool people that love this spearing lifestyle as much as you do. Visit them in store in one of their huge mega stores around Australia. Chat to one of their friendly team members. Take advantage of the Noob Spearo discount code. Save $20 on every purchase over $200 in store, online, easy savings. Pump in the code Noob Spearo if you're shopping online or in store. Mention it's one of their friendly team members and save $20 over $200. That's right. Use the code Noob Spearo in store. Shop with Adreno, our partner for more than 200 episodes. I was left with an empty cooler after missing and wounding a bunch of fish with a shoddy spear gun. A work colleague urged me to speak to Naptonics, and I'm so glad I did. Without Jerry and the Naptonics team, I would have kept missing bulk fish and coming home to my wife empty-handed. Now I can focus on slaying monster hogs and groper and covering the deck of my boat in blood. Never buy a shitty piece of equipment again. Shop Naptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to save 10% and go spearing with confidence. Jerry says if we sell it, we believe in it, we trust it, and dive it. Shop Naptonics.com. Free shipping for the lower 48 for orders over $199, and you can save 10% when you use the code NOOB10, NOOB10 at Naptonics.com. Hoorah! G'day, Noob Spearo community. I've got Sam Wild. We've sort of sprung together this wild interview with very little notice, but he is a wild man. He's Sam Wild, actually. Sam, mate, I've been following your adventures for years and years, bro, and you're like at least 10 years younger than I am. I feel like I've followed you forever, man.
Yeah, likewise, man. I think we've been playing cat and mouse for the last wee while trying to get this interview together, but finally, all these years later, we've made it happen.
Mate, in the meantime, all you've done is continue to produce more and more amazing stuff. Like, I remember way back in the day, this is probably way back in the day for you, considering how much ground's gone between now and then, but there was this lobster vid that you had, I think it was down in Fiordland, and it was this huge lobster that you guys spent a fair amount of time setting up to create this really cool shot when you went down to finally grab it. Tell us about that. Share us that, and I'd really love if I could have that photo for the show notes if I could, so people can kind of get what I'm talking about. But it was amazing. Like, it's obviously an amazing location, but please talk to me about how that sort of eventuated.
I think I know what you're talking about. There's a video of dropping down and picking it up, and the light was beautiful. So for those who don't know, we have an area here in New Zealand called Fiordland, and it is just the wild west, so hard to get to, and it's really well known for its large crayfish. So yeah, we call all our lobsters over here crays. And yeah, just found this beautiful buck. I was there with my mate Matt Bircham, and it wasn't long into sort of stepping in with a big proper camera setup and just keen to film everything. So I dropped down to about sort of 16 meters and told Matt that I'd give him the wave to come down, and he definitely took his sweet time coming down. But looking at him like, hurry up, mate, come on. Anyway, he drops down and he does this beautiful grab on this massive buck crayfish, and it just kicks up all the sand. The viz was just beautiful. The light just kind of lit up all the sand, and he had a good scrap on the way up to the surface when I was burning for oxygen. But yeah, no, that was, and still to this day, man, it's probably one of my favorite clips.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. That thing made me froth for months. And it was one of those ones that I would revisit because it captured that whole feeling you get when you grab a good lobster. And they're not always that easy. Like, that one was, from memory, like a little bit out in the open. But
yeah, it was kind of like just sitting out under this, nice and staunch out the front of this boulder, but it had a bit of room to play out behind it. But I still get it, man, like that sort of nervous feeling when you spot a big crayfish, and you know that if you grab it wrong, it's going to hurt. And it's good clip. I really like that one.
Oh, 100%. Oh, it made me think too about delayed gratification. You know, like, they ran all these tests back in the days on kids, and they did these longevity studies. And basically, like, this is how my brain works. It's a little bit different, but they studied these kids when they were young, and then 30 years later they had a look at it again, and they determined that the one factor critical to kind of, you know, these kids having their own version of success in their lives was delayed gratification. And the way you went about piecing that shot together and doing everything, sometimes it seems with photography, it's all about delayed gratification, because often you're not in the action yourself. So you're putting yourself second, and then you're really trying to make the other person look cool at the expense of just enjoying what's in front of you yourself. Is that something that you can relate to?
Absolutely. I'm so fortunate enough to have the opportunity to do quite a bit of underwater filming here in New Zealand, and so I can fully relate to that for sure. It's as it's also tough as a Spearo doing the underwater camera work as well, because there's always that internal battle of, oh man, I'd almost be rather shooting that with a spear gun rather than with a camera. But it's such a satisfying feeling being able to come home and sort of just relive the magic of that day. I mean, it definitely does. It can take away an element of what is in front of you, but just the kind of the reward of just being able to showcase what I've seen, what we've encountered, how well old mate did on shooting that fish or the crayfish that he got and stuff like that, and being able to show people who don't necessarily get to see that, it's a really rewarding experience.
Man, I'm going to ask you all about South Sea Spearos in a bit. I was going to say one thing that was handy for me with my just mucking around with the camera and doing some third-person stuff was like counting down those last 5 breaths together. That way you get your timing synced up, because like having a decent period of relaxation and a breathe up matters. You know, often the cameraman, if you're doing a minute 20 dive or whatever, the poor old cameraman's doing, or the camera person, sorry, we'll make it correct. They might do like 20, 30 seconds more than you know? So is that how you guys sync up shots sometimes? Or, I mean, how do you do it?
Sometimes. I'd love for that to be the case. Quite often, it doesn't quite often work as easy as that. Oh, I wish it did. Nah, I'm super fortunate to dive with some very, very talented divers. And that adds a real challenging element to what I do. We definitely do try and sync up as best we can. Normally, it's sort of everybody's got their own routine of breathing up, and I try not to intrude on that, because at the end of the day, if we don't shoot that fish, we've got nothing to film anyway, and the diver needs to be able to dive to the best of their abilities. And quite often, I will just work around that diver. We'll try to quite often get a bit of a thumbs up in terms of acknowledgement on when I'm ready and when they're ready. But even when I'm ready, I still wouldn't be able to keep up with some of these boys that I film. But yeah, having the camera in hand is very, very different to the diving that I would do with a spear gun. It's a lot harder to relax, I find. You know, even before you're sort of breaking the surface, you're trying to capture the whole story, and so that's all the way through your footage. So you're trying to capture the diver diving down, and gripping the camera, trying to keep things steady. It's sitting in the ocean, a moving substrate with a camera that can be moving in itself, filming something that's moving in it. I find that just locking up and being tense on the camera is probably one of the biggest challenges that I have in terms of being relaxed and holding my breath.
Yeah.
But yeah. But depending on who I'm diving with, I can sometimes get away with with keeping up and staying down for an extra 30 seconds. But some of these boys are phenomenal.
Oh yeah, well you're driving with like Julian Hansford and Dwayne Herbert, and you know all of the guys that I've seen you dive with are all friggin' weapons. Like they can compete at an international level. They're commercial divers too on their day-to-day jobs. So and they're all born in the water. You know, like they might as well be mermen. Half of these blokes. But
you wouldn't know it, honestly, man. Like they're just average,
down to earth blokes.
They love a beer. They good value. They're really good mates of mine. But you're absolutely right. They very talented divers.
We might revisit photography, cinematography. I wanted to chat with you about. I heard you maybe grew up in an alternative community. No, but like for me, like it's interesting learning the stuff that not a lot of other people know about someone sometimes. I mean, if you want to talk about this, please just tell us about it and how it shaped you as a person, because you're a really interesting guy, and I'm sure that this played a big part of it.
Have you seen that dude on social media called Nardwar, who goes and interviews all these people, and he just does the most outrageous research, and all of these like crazy like famous people were just left absolutely speechless with these things that he asks them.
No, I haven't, but I'm going to take some notes.
That comes to mind, bro. I'll send you a link.
I love
it. Yeah, so I grew up in a place called Mapua, which is a little village out of Nelson in the top of the south.
I was born in Nelson, just as a little bit of a point.
Oh, were
Stoke
you?
Nelson. Yep.
Oh, you must know Mapua then.
Yeah, Marpur Peninsula, isn't it?
Yeah, boy. Yeah.
Yep.
No, so I grew up there, and my grandparents founded a nudist camp
Wow.
in Mapua. So yeah, spent many a year. Yeah, maybe thinking back, it might have been a bit of child abuse. Actually, thinking back to it, but cruising around in the nude, it just wasn't even a big thing back then. Thinking back now, yeah, no, it's just it was a cool place to grow up. You just didn't really care about that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But coastal town, always super invested with the ocean, but yeah, very sort of colourful upbringing. But none of my family were divers or anything like that. I didn't really sort of pick it up until later in life. But yeah, Marpur nudist camp.
Wow. And what are they like? Kind of like hippie nudists, or is it like like is it like new age type sort of stuff, or are they just like living off the land or any of that sort of stuff, or just nudists?
Nah, it wasn't really. It's all sold up now. Even the times have sort of changed a little bit. It definitely isn't sort of new age nudicism. What do we call? I don't know what
I
we
don't
want to
know.
call it. But it was almost like there was somebody at the gate that was checking people's IDs.
Oh.
And if you were under the age of 50, you had to keep your clothes on.
Isn't that how every nudist thing feels like?
Pretty much, man. You'd expect to rock up and hope for the good stuff, but it wasn't quite the case.
She's
But
rugged.
it's a cool community. It's one of those, like, everybody sort of turned up there from all over the world and all over New Zealand every summer. Winter wasn't really the season of the nudist, for obvious reasons. So it was quite cool, man. I had it with my old mates and stuff. Would turn up every year, and yeah, no, it was pretty neat.
Do you think New Zealand is like like people talk about tall poppy syndrome? I'm sorry, we're going off the spearing route here for a sec, but like there's massive cultural pressure on people in New Zealand to conform to this ideal. And I don't know if you experienced that growing up, but I definitely felt that at high school. Like, there's very much a tall poppy syndrome, and tall poppy, for people that are not familiar with it, it's like if you stand up or stand out, like, people will bring you back down. So we're all this comfortable thing in the middle. What do you think about that? And growing up in that community, was that easy to observe?
Not necessarily in that community, but I fully think that tall poppy syndrome is rife definitely throughout New Zealand. It's definitely sort of brings it more back into the spearfishing sense and the world of social media. And for me, getting into what I started doing, it was all basically to showcase what I fell in love with, which was underwater. I come from a non-diving family, and I wanted to show my family just this thing I was obsessed about. But of course, that content ended up on public platforms, and yeah, man, like, there's been challenges all the way through where exactly that, man. If anybody sees you standing tall and doing well, it is very easy, and there are very readily available platforms for people to sit there and hack you down. It's tough, and especially when we're looking at a sport like spearfishing, where it's literally just an individual sport. People go out and you shoot fish, you celebrate that. And still it's still enough for people to stand up and give you shit, which it shouldn't be a thing, but it is just something that's so prominent here in New Zealand. And I founded a Facebook page.
Yeah, NZ Spearo community, or NZ Spearo forum back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, and it's an awesome platform. It's a place for me, obsessed with the sport. As any Spearo who's listening, when you first start spearfishing, it's not a sport; it's an addiction.
100%.
Absolutely. So for me, when I started this, it was my whole life was spearfishing. Facebook. I decided to, start up this page to try and bring Spearos together. I wanted to learn more about spearfishing in different parts of the country, and I wanted to learn and all that sort of carry on. And the page is founded, and that's what we've got. We've got a really diverse community, but unfortunately, it's a part of it included a few people and a few groups that found it really easy just to, if anybody stood out more than the others, or exactly anything that's worth celebrating, yes, people were hacked down. So I've had a lot of exposure to that, and it's something that, it's something that I really wish we could quash.
Yeah, you can't though. Like, and I mean, part of it is a free speech thing, which seems to be more and more of an anti-New Zealand value these days. Like, I don't want to get too political, but far out, you're not even allowed to talk in New Zealand if you've got alternative views. But your guys' group, the New Zealand Facebook community on Facebook, is a bloody awesome place, mate. You deal with the same dickheads that we all do, but you guys have largely created and propagated a culture that's pretty cool, pretty supportive. Generally, there's always trolls, and sometimes I enjoy the old trolls. But you've also got a bunch of like great leaders and cool people, you know, like guys like Blair Herbert that, you know, continually educate in a real subtle way about sustainability, not without bashing people over the head about it. They just do it in a really cool way that makes people learn for themselves, you know. And I see that happening on your guys' community. So I don't see it all as negative. Sometimes when it's your own baby too, like you're the most critical of it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, just going through the years, just thinking back, just relating it back to the tall poppy thing, man. Like, with different groups, like, it's good now. It's great. It's it managed to weed out a few of the people who, sort of bringing that negative energy. But it is a really good platform now for people to come through and learn. And we do have the legends of the sport, the likes of Pat Swanson and Blair Herbert, and a lot of these really experienced guys coming through and being able to interact and communicate with these guys who are coming into a sport that is exploding. We're getting so many new people who are coming into it. Mm-hmm. And it's been good working with Blair. He's an admin on there with me, and just trying to help. We've bounced off each other, made some rules on the page where to try and help sort of mitigate the slaughter, so to say.
Yeah. I remember that.
With spearfishing, when you first start spearfishing, man, you're just like, sweet, I'm going to just shoot everything that I can. I'm going to shoot. The butterfish is the fish that we start off with really here in New Zealand. And as the natural sort of evolution of a Spearo is you start off by shooting heaps of stuff, and then you realize that dealing with filleting 20 fish at the end of a big day spearfishing sucks. And the general evolution is you phase out and you end up shooting less as you go. So we've sort of made a rule on the page that we just try and educate people, be like, hey guys, we don't really want to see any death piles on the page.
I remember.
If you guys want to, you guys can shoot whatever you want, but like try and pick up a couple of your favorite fish, take a photo, share the story. We want that, and hopefully that'll sort of change the mindset of people initially, which might leave a few more fish in the water. And I think, it's always going to be a good thing when we have a sport, especially here in New Zealand, where it's just absolutely blowing up.
Yeah, this is a problem too, when a larger proportion of the population goes spearfishing. And like when I started the Noob Spearo podcast, a lot of experienced guys said to me, like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like you're helping a lot of more people access spearfishing, and that means there's going to be more Spearos in the water, so less fish, And I see their point, but I think like if people go through that ethical journey faster, and they learn faster, and they don't have to do the same things we did, like where they just kill like in America and Florida particularly, they call it a dock of death photo, like where these guys elaborately lay out like, 3 days worth of fish that 4 guys have been shooting nonstop. There's 100 fish on the dock, and they've laid them all out in the sun, and then they take this photo and plaster it on social media, and that's attached to spearfishing. We had this conversation on the podcast too, so I relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. It also shows a bit more respect for the fish and stuff as well. But yeah, all in all, man, we've got a wicked community here, and it's been awesome having all these legends of the sport coming through, and I've learned so much from being on board on that. And
I went to your Instagram profile, and you were talking about my amazing research. The Nardwar fella that has inspired me apparently. I saw EDH, and I don't think that means epidural hematoma or Elder Dragon Highlander from the Elder Scrolls. So what does EDH mean, bro?
You're actually spot on, bro. That's exactly what it means.
What?
All those fancy words that you said
before. What does it mean? Come on.
No. That's my partner, Emma Daisy Hunt. Yeah, man. Yeah. So my partner here has been, she's moved me down to a city called Christchurch, which is probably the toughest place to get into decent diving
Mm.
around is in Christchurch. So I'm not actually doing a lot down here, but when it is good, it's good. But no, she's fantastic, man. I've got a beautiful girl, and I've been trying to get her into the spearfishing, which is great. A little bit of the hunting as well. Her last name is Hunt.
I
So
saw that. I was just going to make a joke. Like, you guys could start your own company, Wild Hunt or Hunt Wild.
yeah,
Like, you've got it going on there. Far out.
no, it's
Yeah.
been good, man. She's been living up to the last name, man. She's been kicking my ass on a few missions. It's primo.
So is she into spearing and hunting? Like, because you do a lot of above ground hunting too. Like, you're into your bows and rifle hunting as well.
Yeah. Not so much the bow hunting. I'm bloody hopeless at that. But definitely been super lucky here with everything that's sort of big and fluffy and delicious is an introduced pest species. So we've got good access to good hunting around here. But I'm slowly getting her into the spearfishing. It
Nice.
hasn't helped that.
You're in Christchurch.
Well, yeah, there's that, but like South Seas Spearo, just some of the missions that we've been on, and I've come back and I've shown her some of the footage that I'm
Oh, the
super,
great whites and the
super stoked
makos
with,
and
and swimming with great whites and
yeah.
feeding, feeding stingrays with her hands and all that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
it's made her think she just doesn't trust me. Like if I say that it's all good, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
She's thinking
She understands that your risk tolerance is at like 155% and hers is at 2 because she's brand new.
exactly. She's sitting there thinking bullshit.
Yeah.
I've seen you swim with great whites and you think that that's all good. Oh, nah. So we're warming into it. She shot a butterfish. She's grabbed some power, which are abalone over here, which is cool. And it's awesome being fully invested in the journey of someone entering the water for the first time, seeing that sort of that first initial fear and every step that she takes is a giant one,
Yeah.
It's awesome to be a part of. Like the first dive took her out and might have been quite dirty water, might have been a bit of surge, but I just didn't think anything of it. And then this big bull kelp, which is this apparently really scary seaweed. Anyway, she lasted about 10 minutes before she was freaking out and jumping on my back, thinking that every bit of seaweed coming out of the murk was going to get her. To the point where I had her floating around out off a pin out in the middle of nowhere, and we had schools of kingies and stuff coming past, and she was getting into it, dropping down on top of the pin.
Oh, beautiful.
8 meters or something like that, but it's pretty cool just being along for that full journey.
That's super cool. And you're talking about like like what you got on social media to show your family. Like I noticed further down, like, you got a young cousin Jack Trott. You got out for a bit of a dive with him. He's getting into the lobbies as well. Have you seen many of your family sort of take up the reins and jump into it, get obsessed?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Got my little cousin Jack. My uncle, he does it as well. He was there when I shot my first kingy. Dad's done a little bit of it, but a lot of the family are actually surfers, so they've always tried to stay away from the flat stuff, and we've always been chasing the swell, which I've always tried to avoid.
Yeah.
But it's been good. It's been good. My little cousin Jack, he's a little weapon, man. It's from the South Island. Doesn't do a lot of spearing, but just seeing him get keen and jumping in, shooting his first John Dory. She's shot a couple of kingies already,
Nice.
and stuff like that. It's cool, man. But I was just thinking back, like, man, when I first got into it, it took me so long, like years and years and years, to be able to tick off some of these species. And my little cousin's been kicking my ass. It didn't take him long at all.
Good on you, Jack. Awesome. Mate, great whites in the water. Like, you've got a photo on your Instagram. It's pinned up the top. There's 2 great whites sort of passing each other in opposite directions. I've never been in the water with them. What's different about them?
Oh, man. Such a unique experience. Like, there's just not much out there that can just create that cocktail of emotion that you feel when you're in the water with them. I think we've got a slightly different mindset over here in New Zealand on grey whites, just because we don't really have that sort of negative human interaction that's found in other places like Aussie. But man, epic. Like, far out, man. If I could do it every day of the week, I would, man. If you could bottle, if you could put that feeling in a pill, man, you'd make your millions. 100%, 100%. The first time I swam with him, it was a pretty controlled environment, I think. Like, we knew it was there, and we'd basically just sit there and we'd watched it for a little bit. Actually, I'll go back a little bit. Earlier in the day, we parked up at the spot when we were going to go for a dive, right on the change of light, and then we'd seen this thing sort of out and around the boat, and we had a look down and just sort of make out just this giant great white that had swum underneath the boat. But it was the first one I'd ever seen, and it would have been huge. It would have been a big female, just nuts. Like, Dave's sitting there with the camera, like, I can't see it. And then he moved his head out to the side of his camera, away from his viewfinder. And you realize the reason why he couldn't see it is because the back of the shark was taking up the whole frame.
Yeah.
And we're like, whoa. And it was early in the day. We never saw it in the water or anything like that. I poked my head over the side without my goggles and I had a look. Without my mask, and I had a look, and I could see this blurry mass, which was beautiful, swimming away. But yeah, anyway, in the afternoon, we'd done a bit of spearfishing, and in the afternoon, the tide had picked up. We swum back to the boat, and we jumped up on the boat, and we had the float sitting at the back with a couple of fish on it. Anyway, a young great white had come charging in and just went nuts on these fish, just like attacked, circled the float, came through, hit the float as we were pulling it in. It just had like a butterfish and a terraki or something on it. And then it got angry, and it just had like shoulders out, fin out of the water, tail splashing on the surface, and it just swam straight at the boat. It had to go with the fish, swam straight at the boat, trying to get these fish, and then swam into the outboard of this big splash. And we were all just sat there and stunned, like, holy shit, that was nuts. And we moved down the coast slightly for obvious reasons, and then another shark had ended up turning up, and just cruising, man, doing laps around the boat. And one of my goals as an underwater cameraman, as an underwater enthusiast, and maybe a bit of a dumbass, I've always wanted to get in the water with a white. And the boys are all quite experienced, and I figured that everything was chill enough, so it was just doing circles of the boat, jumped in. As it was sort of coming up to the side, like it was sort of like, I don't know, to the side of the boat, and I'd slip in at the back and sort of swim along with it, and we'd just do a big sort of loop out and around. I'd sort of shadow it a little bit, and we'd come back and turn, and when it got towards the back of the boat, it would turn around and swim straight back of the boat. And that's when I'd sort of backpedal a little bit and then jump out, and then it would move back out to the side again and start its loop again, and I'd slip back in. And that was incredible, man. I jumped 6, 7, 8 times.
Did you get some good footage?
You got some good stuff, man. You got some good stuff. Not as good as what it should have been. I didn't spend a lot of time because the monitor of my camera is quite small.
Yeah.
And you've kind of got to be quite focused on what you're looking at in the camera. But I just didn't want to take my eyes off the shark, man. It was amazing, but there was definitely a real element of fear there.
Yeah. So what, did you have your EV out or your white balance out or something?
No. Everything was there. It's just the framing wasn't quite right.
Oh,
sometimes.
yeah.
I might have just been sitting a little bit too low on the shot, and the tide was absolutely hissing, man. It was really, really strong current. So I got what I got, and it was good enough.
Cool. This podcast is brought to you by aqualite.com.au. This is the best solution, bar none, for staying hydrated in the ocean. If you're a Spearo, it's an absolute no-brainer. It's a game changer. If you're doing extended trips and the cramp starts to set in and the old body's telling you, hey, that's enough, just get hydrated and it will save you a whole heap of woe. It's a groundbreaking product that can help you to stay hydrated. It's got low sugar. It's less acidic than other options on the market. It's rapid absorption, help you to maintain performance. Dehydration of just 1 to 2% can affect your mental and physical performance by up to 6 or 7%. And when you're spearfishing, you can tell when dehydration is starting to affect you because the equalization goes out the window. Get Aqualite at aqualite.com.au. It's scientific rehydration that Spearos know and trust. I know because one works there, and that's why we've set up this discount code for you, 10% off when you use the code Noob at aqualite.com.au. Check it out. Australian-made hydration products tailored for Spearos and a whole bunch of other people that suffer from dehydration too. But check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code Noob to save 10%. Are you in the market for a new spear gun? Killshot Spear Guns has got blue water wahoo tuna guns, open track spear guns, enclosed track spear guns, rear handle enclosed tracks. Check them out at killshotspearguns.com. Even better, I've got some good news for you. You can save $30 on any Killshot Spear Gun at killshotspearguns.com. Use the code Noob. If you're in store, just say crikey, mate, or say Shrek from the Noob Spearo sent you, and you'll save $30. Ed Martin at killshotspearguns.com. Check him out.
Old Man Blue. Spearfishing gear made to last. Go to Old Man Blue Dive on Instagram or oldmanblue.com.au and check out some gear made to last. oldmanblue.com.au.
And then you've had more experiences. Like, I believe filming South Sea Spearos, you spent a bit of time with a bigger shark or bigger sharks.
Well, no, that was with South Seas. So that experience was all with the South Seas boys.
Okay.
I've been back since. I got lucky enough to have the opportunity to do some Shark Week filming.
Yep.
And that was awesome. It was a very different experience, being in a cage, but just sort of spending a really good sustained amount of time in the water with them, and also knowing you're in a safe environment was really cool. You can push quite far out of the cage. You know, you have your whole half of your body sitting out of the gap of the cage, and they'll just sort of cruise past in front of you and push the camera in their face, and seeing the interaction of the sharks, and also having the ability to get a bit closer to some of these bigger fish as well.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, man.
A lot of Spearos are anti cage diving. Have you had these big discussions about it?
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely sort of frowned upon here in New Zealand, a bit, in a way. Like, I know the diving community around Stewart Island, which is where that operation is based, it doesn't sit well with the commercial divers for obvious reasons. But at the same time, some of the argument is that there are incredibly intelligent fish. I've got a mate of mine who's down there commercial spearfishing at the moment, and he's seeing heaps of these fish, but there's been no aggressive interactions or anything like that. And we also need to keep in mind that the fishing community, because they're worried about the association of a reward with people and mainly with a boat. But at the same time, we've had codding for generations going on around the island, chucking over cod guts and all that sort of carry on. But yeah, so you definitely see both sides of the argument. But I mean, personally, for me, there's been so many man hours down there in Stewart Island. There's been no attacks or anything in recent years on the diving community, really anywhere in New Zealand, from a white on divers or Spearos.
Whereas
this is down in Stewart Island. So this is the bottom. So it's the bottom island at the bottom of the South Island. But it's having the opportunity to go and see these animals, and up close and personal, and potentially having the ability to change people's perceptions of these fish. They are beautiful. We do want to see them in the water, and we do want to try and break down that stigma of fear on these sharks, because as we know that with a little bit more understanding of these fish, there may be a little bit more encouragement to keep a few more of them in the water. You know, sharks getting a lot of fishing pressure at the moment. It has its place.
In Australia, there's a heated conversation about it. We have a number of issues. So we've had a great white eat an ocean swimmer alive. And it wasn't a mistaken identity or all that bullshit. It came in and it smashed this guy as he's swimming. He's probably only 50 meters off the rocks, swimming out open ocean, and it's absolutely smashed him. And then the guy's still alive, I believe, and struggling, and the sharks come back in and finish the job. Proper ate him alive, left a small part of his torso and part of his arm, and ate the rest of him. like proper ate this guy alive. Like, so like some of the stuff you hear, like, oh, it's just a mistaken identity. They don't like eating us. There's, you know, it was kind of a little bit dispelled. Not that it's a common behavior, but it does happen. And then in South Australia, like a number of Spearos have been attacked over the years, and WA as well. Bull sharks seem to be a problem here too. And then we have the shark, like the lines that are out to, you know, catch these guys in nets and stuff. And a lot of Spearos hate it, and rightfully so. And then some people are just kind of like, well, what value do you put on human life? And it's a massive, massive shit fight. I know in New Zealand there's a lot of, like, Riley Elliott's done a lot to sort of sway people's perception towards preserving sharks and stuff, but it is a big conversation.
Yeah, it is a big one. It is a big one. It's I'm very on the fence. Not on the fence. I've got a foot on both sides of the line in regards to that. I've got when I went to university, which is when I first started spearfishing in Wellington, I studied marine biology just so I could align my work with the ocean, and just sort of having that sort of scientific understanding of these fish, but also at the same time being in that community that could be impacted if the population were to, you know, explode, or if there was going to be an interaction. Yeah, it's a hard one. I think over here in New Zealand, we don't have the population. We don't have the population of people on the water. It's same as Australia. You guys have got a lot of people on your coastlines there. At the same time, the sharks that are here are feeding on different things. We've also potentially different water temperatures on where we are. Stewart Island gets pretty bloody cold in the middle of winter. Well, not in the middle of winter, even during the season that they are here. So whether they're very well fed when they're here, or maybe when they are here, they're not here to potentially feed. Maybe it's more of a breeding thing. Maybe the water temperature slows down their metabolism so much that they don't need to eat as much. They're not as voracious.
Yeah.
And also, you've also got to think about the changes in what's going on with your fisheries over there. Maybe something's going on, and maybe they are having to come in closer. I did hear a theory that based on the humpback whale migration.
Yeah.
It took a real hammering back in the day, and they're still starting to crawl back up, and they're doing really well now to almost not quite natural populations, but the population is exploding. And during their migrations, with a smaller population sitting a little bit further offshore, imagine a smaller channel, a smaller stream of humpbacks migrating, but now that it's so big, their ranges, they're migrating a lot closer to shore, potentially.
Yeah.
I know that the sharks do have that migration as a part of their as a part of their life cycle. In terms of they follow the whales, they eat the afterbirth, they eat the sick and the dead whales, and that's a part of their.
I like how you're not overly simplistic with any of this shit, Sam. Like, you see the nuance and the rich context and multiple contributing factors to this conversation, and I think that's not done enough. Like, I don't think people want to talk about all of the factors enough. We want to have these overly simply heuristics that either sharks are sharks and who gives a shit about them, let's kill them, or sharks are these wonderful animals that we must appreciate, and fuck humans, we shouldn't be there anyway. And it's like, you know, between those two ideas, there's a whole lot more going on, people. Like, and I just wish we'd have the conversation a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. Absolutely. If it gets to the point, man, where they are a problem, we're gonna have to do something about it. But with those humpback whales, their migration is a hell of a lot closer to shore. It's bringing the sharks into where everybody's cruising and swimming around. I went out to Byron, with that Gold Coast with the family, and man, I was blown away. Humpback whales jumping everywhere. It was primo. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of different factors that need to be thought about. But I know that a few areas down here are starting to see a lot more. We're starting to see heaps more great whites, and that's a recent thing. So that we're talking over the last sort of 5 or 6 years. So I think that's the change in our commercial fishing practice as well. In terms of cameras on commercial vessels, they are an endangered species. But I think we've also changed legislation on shark finning as well. In terms of
Is there a commercial shark fishery in New Zealand still?
Yeah, man. Yep. But the whole animal has to be utilised now. Can't just, if you're going to take anything, you're going to have to trunk the animal out. Fins can be exported if a whole carcass is taken out. But great whites are fully protected.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think it was a bit easier for if they've accidentally killed a shark to cut the line or whatever. There was no real effort to put them back alive. And
so what? Now you have camera surveillance 24/7 on commercial vessels.
Yeah, well, that's going through at the moment where we're getting cameras on vessels. So if there are any incidents or anything like that, I don't know how it's going to work. That's a lot of man hours, man. Just checking out and observing that footage. So I don't know how they're going to operate.
I guess if it's CCTV and you have it there as a historic record, even if it can be analysed at a later date, like it's still providing a layer of accountability that wasn't there before.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to think. No one likes being filmed all day while they're working, doing anything, So, I mean, you'd have to have strict things. Like, I'm really anti-Big Brother shit too. Like, I love people being able to make decisions for themselves and having freedom to do so. And fishing's like a wild thing too, Like, I wouldn't want to be filmed all day or feel like I was under a microscope. But I don't know. I can sort of see that discussion happening as well.
Yeah. We need to take a hard line on the commercial fleet. We've got the QMS, the quota management system here, which all in all is a relatively successful commercial fishing method. It's a commercial model that we follow, and we're so lucky here, man. I don't think people realize how lucky we are. There's all the stories of a golden day back in the age, how it used to be, but we can still go out there and catch a world-class feed relatively easily. We're seeing an explosion in the likes of our kingies, our yellowtail kingfish. They're starting to turn up in places that they've never been. And that's, down in Stewart Island and Fiordland, all the way down to the depths. Typically, it was seen as like a warm sort of North Island fish. When I was first started spearing, I just want to get to the North Island and shoot myself a kingie. But now, man, like you can, like in Nelson, there's heaps of kingies there. We've seen some beautiful fish down in like Stewart Island and Fiordland and the likes. But we also need to realise that compare ourselves to other countries. New Zealand's fishery is definitely room for improvement, and there definitely are some species that weren't managed properly. And it's a shame that you sort of have to have that trial and error to get up to standard. But we're doing okay.
As long as we're learning and moving forward, I think that's a good thing. I love that feeling underwater when you pull the trigger and you know exactly where that shaft is going. You want something dependable. You want to put that fish that you've been chasing for a lifetime in the boat, in the cooler, in the esky, in the chili bin, if you're in New Zealand. Why do we call all these things different names? Anyway, today's show sponsor, KillshotSpearguns.com, make awesome wooden timber spear guns, a fantastic shooting platform. If you've ever shot a big timber gun, you know the reliability that you get from these things. He mostly makes enclosed track spear guns. Visit him at KillshotSpearguns.com. Use the code Noob to save $30 on any Killshot spear gun. Hey guys, not sure how you stay hydrated out on the boats on those long days out on the water, but staying hydrated is absolutely critical towards good equalization and looking after your body, making sure you're not doing those awkward one-legged kicks to the surface when one leg cramps out on you. Go to aqualite.com.au and get yourself a box of sachets. You just simply add them to water. It's less than $1.28 per serve. It's cheaper and healthier than any other sports drinks on the market. Aqualite will make a difference in your spearfishing. Check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code NoobSpearo to save 10% on any order. Check it out. Aqualite, made in Western Australia. Got a sweet deal for you today, guys. Go to freedivingfamily.com and learn from Adam Stern and a select team of experts on different disciplines. There's Frenzel, Advanced Frenzel and Hands-Free Equalization, Mouthful, Deep Frenzel Equalization, Bifitting Essentials. These are courses that will give you the 1% that will allow you to improve. Use the code SPEARO to get 20% off any course at freedivingfamily.com. Again, that's the code SPEARO to get 20% off at freedivingfamily.com. Thanks, Adam and team. Love it. We're delving into political and controversial topics a lot, Sam. Let's bring it right back down to our spearing level. What's one of the most captivating times or experiences you've had in the ocean?
Oh, man, I couldn't put it down to one.
Can you think of can you think of like a fish or a stalk that you did that just really stands out to you? Like, doesn't have to be even an amazing fish, just like just an amazing hunt.
Probably my first shark encounter. Diving off the Omaha coast from the South Island, done the trip up, and I put down a little bit of a burley off the front edge of this rock. And I'd gone down to check the burley and it just been completely shifted out to a different spot. So I did a deeper drop out to the side and did a bit of a sort of stalk up over to try and find this burley. And sure enough, out the back, there was a really nice snapper, which always gave me a stiffy being a South Island. Oh, it just gets me so excited.
Yeah.
So I was lined up on that and I was yet to ever see a proper shark in the water. And as I was pushing out to line up on the snapper, just this bronzy just came cruising out from the side here I'd never seen one. I was like, oh shit. That's what a bronzy looks like. Ugh, snapper shark, snapper shark, snapper shark. I'm not passing up on that snapper. Let's just pull the trigger and see what happens. Shot this fish and this bronzy comes out, swims up over my head and managed to land this 8.5 kilo snapper. So
oh wow.
Just the first one that sort of sticks to my mind is definitely that one, just sort of having that sort of excitement level. There's that cocktail of emotion of the excitement of seeing this awesome snapper, as well as seeing the shark all in the same breath. That was pretty cool, man. That was pretty cool. But been lucky enough to see some wicked stuff with the boys and with the show.
Yeah, of course, yeah. We'll talk about a couple more. I think one thing like with spearing is like, you do a freediving course and it's all about relaxation and getting zen. And then spearfishing, you need to do that too, but then you get on the bottom and you got the excitement of the hunt. And it's just like, no wonder no one's got beyond a 30-second breath hold when they start. Like it's hard, trying to contain it and shoot that fish for lifetime. Whatever that fish is for you,
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. As you get on, it almost helps having that reward dangled in front of you, like you do those breath holds where there's not much happening, and you end up coming up a little bit earlier than say you see that fish hanging out the back and you just forget about the contractions in your throat and all that sort of and the need to breathe, or the fact that you've got a 20, 30 meter swim back up to the surface no matter what happens.
Yeah. Talk about safety then. Since we've delved into it, might as well just keep going with controversy and then back to fun again. You started it. You mentioned contractions and being on the bottom. No, it's all good. It's just like I feel like if we touch on it, we've got to cover off what we preach and then what we do to minimize risk. Yeah.
The best thing is, for me anyway, I've been real lucky. A lot of my diving has been with really experienced guys. Your Dwayne Herberts and your Julian Hansfords. We've got Kieran, we've got Tim Barnett. You got some wicked dudes who we filmed this show with, and they've all been through the bullshit, man. And lucky I started diving with them when I was a little bit younger, and they've done all the cowboy shit. They've learned their lessons, and they've put in together some really good practices to mitigate all of that. And I've been exposed to all of that for a lot of my diving, which has been great. We haven't had any issues on the show. All of these boys they've had their blackouts and plenty of funky chickens and rescuing mates and losing mates and all that sort of carry on. And it's been a good environment to be around. So for me, it's been implemented off the bat. But yeah, just a good buddy system, not pushing your limits, understanding your buddy's limits, and having good things set in play, just in case something does go wrong. We've got good stuff on the boat. I love the likes of oxygen, a proper dedicated first aid kit that covers all sorts of situations, including a tourniquet, and understanding and learning how to use all of that. We're heading to Minerva Reef, and we're waiting for some nice weather in May, and so we're all learning up on what could go wrong with a shark bite, because it's a really notoriously sharky spot. But yeah, man.
Yeah, cool. That's good. I think experience does shape so much of our safety. So like it's just worth touching on. We've all been in that situation where you're on the bottom and you're getting uncomfortable, and then but you just want that extra bit of hunt time, and like a lot of guys, older Spearos will say, don't do a freediving course because, you know, you learn the skills to drive a Ferrari, but that's not really what we do spearfishing. We drive a Toyota Corolla around the streets and we've got a 50-kilometer speed limit, you know, and here you are, you've been out to a racetrack and you've driven it at 280 kilometers an hour, and we don't really need you to do that. We just need you to, you know, stop at the stop sign, use the giveaway, you know, like the crude analogy, but, you know, it is kind of it. Like, we're just going to dive all day long. Generally, like every dive, we're never approaching anywhere near our actual capabilities, and that's why we were able to do it all day.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's bang on. That's a good analogy. That's correct. Yeah, no, that's that's dead right. It's dead right. That's sort of the fundamentals of. I do recommend doing some sort of course. I think there's a paddy course that's run over here that's really well received, and just sort of getting that base understanding of the physiology of diving, what your body's actually going through in the water, and all that sort of carrying is definitely good to take with you, but nothing really beats first-hand experience.
What's the species you've geeked out on, like a lot?
I've geeked out on like my favorite.
Yeah, well, like hunting, and maybe you've got into learning all about them as well, and their breeding habits, feeding habits, and so on.
Well, nothing in particular, but I mean, you've got to say, like, the stock standard, just dogtooth tuna are just one of those fish that just get me so barred up. Holy. Yeah, it's been awesome heading over to the islands and sort of having those heartbreak moments and chasing those things around, man. Like, just if I could go spearfishing tomorrow or just try and target one species for the rest of my life, it'll be doggies. You know, incredibly humbling, but it's been awesome going out and filming some of these different species and sort of, you know, trying to get some information and communicate on some of the shows that we film, and learning a little bit more about them. Just like how the likes of mahi, how that is one of the fastest growing fish in the ocean, reaching sexual maturity in just over a year. Really, really fast growing. Same with the striped marlin. We have a striped marlin over here. It's one of those. Man, people just do not like seeing billfish being speared. But if we get any sort of controversy or any negative comments, which we don't often really get on some of the stuff that we put out, most of the stuff that we hear negative stuff on is shooting marlin.
Yeah. I think, you know, like, we've got a triggerfish in the ocean. All billfish should sit under a new pseudonym called triggered fish because they just trigger a lot of people on social media. And yeah, man, it's crazy. I watched a video from a Kiwi dude recently. He was a deep line fisherman. I can't remember who it was. Actually, I listened to his podcast about it. And they were hooking these things, and normally that's catch and release, which, I mean, we could have discussion about that as well. But, you know, just watching him process one of these fish was pretty phenomenal. You know, how much of it they can use as well. And they are super fast growing. I mean, there's places where you have these huge aggregations for spawning and feeding, and they're such a cool fish underwater. You've done some amazing filming with the stripies in particular, haven't you?
Yeah, that was, in terms of a highlight in the water, swimming around with striped marlin is definitely up there. But yeah, it's triggered fish, man. Far out. That is spot on. But a lot of it comes down to just satisfying human emotion. We think they're pretty. Don't kill them because they look pretty. But at the same time, it's no different to shooting a butterfish. It was something that you use for burley. You know, you're taking the life of another fish, and hey, man, there's every chance that fish that you've just shot is older than striped marlin. Again, they are a really incredibly fast-growing species. I can't comment on the other marlin species. We get blues, blacks, and striped marlin. Here in New Zealand, striped marlin are by far the most common species, but blues and blacks, I don't actually know if any have been. Oh, no, there's been one black that I know of that's been speared in New Zealand. No blues, but yeah, incredibly sustainable species to harvest. We get plenty of them. It's really ethical in terms of they do reach sexual maturity quite early on. They do contribute to future populations after a couple of years. So it's a good species to target. They just look pretty.
Yeah, they're up there with the red mochi in terms of how much feedback you get. But like when you look at a red mochi, like, and this is something a lot of like new Spearos will make mistakes with in New Zealand. They're incredibly slow growing. They have one patch of reef. They take a long time to reach sexual maturity. A big fish is a really old fish, unlike a swordfish, which is really big, really relatively young, and they have a far broader range too. So, it's a true pelagic species. So it's cool.
Yeah, red monkey. Let's not get into them.
We won't, bro. We've touched enough hot button issues today.
Cracker. Yeah, man.
Equalizing problems can be something that derail you. Not today, my friend. Go to freedivingfamily.com. Check out either the Frenzel and Advanced Frenzel video or the Mouthful and Deep Frenzel Equalization course at freedivingfamily.com. You can use the code Spearo to get 20% off any course at freedivingfamily.com. These courses are put together by Adam Stern and a select team of legends, and to help you overcome different issues and help you perform better. And some of them are extremely relevant for freedive spearing. Check it out at freedivingfamily.com. Use the code Spearo to get 20% off any course.
If your buddy had a blackout on your next spearfishing trip, think, what would the outcome of that be? Do you know how to revive someone from a blackout? Would you even be in a position to do something about it? Or would you be diving, chasing after a fish as your buddy sinks down to the bottom of the ocean? Do you know where most blackouts happen? Do you know what you can do to minimize your risk of having a blackout? My name is Ted Hardy, and I'm the founder of freedivingsafety.com. In my free online course, you will learn the truth about shallow water blackout, the myth of, I don't push myself, I know my limits, I'm in tune with my body, how to minimize your risk of having a blackout, and most importantly, how to save your buddy's life if they have one. Visit freedivingsafety.com to sign up for your free course today. Dive safe out there. It's not even that hard.
Great news for the people that are not a fan of the taxman. The men in grey suits, the nasty buggers that like to sometimes show up and try and ruin our fun spearfishing life. Ocean Guardian have got some great things for us. They have got the Freedom 7 and the Scuba 7, which also come with a discount when you use the code NoobSpearo. Visit noobspearo.com/OG, and that will take you to Ocean Guardian's site. Check out some of their stuff. They've got the best stuff on the market, bar none. It's powered by Shark Shield technology, the world's most effective electrical shark deterrents. They're scientifically proven and tested, backed by multiple published research papers, tested and approved by governments all over the world. They continue to innovate in this space, and the Freedom 7 could be perfect for your spearfishing life. Get 10% off when you use the code NoobSpearo on the Freedom 7. Just head to noobspearo.com/OG. Check it out now. Tell me about a time where you've just had the absolute shit scared out of you. And then tell me about a time, an awkward aquabog if you can. Go either or first, by the way, but they're just two of my favourite things. Both questions feature the word poo, so I'm always having fun.
Honestly, man, don't often get. Okay, there was one time that I'd say that I'd probably put a bit of fear at me, and that was out in a place called the Wanganella Banks. So that's where we filmed some striped marlin. But my first trip out there, I was filming for a fishing show, and it was quite early. It was before the marlin had turned up there, but there was quite a few big yellowfin, and we ended up catching these big yellowfin. And as the underwater cameraman, I jumped in to get some footage. But the skipper of the boat wanted to put the angler. It was a chick who called Nikki, who has a show out here, and she was the skipper wanted to put her through her paces, so he kept the hammer down on this bloody boat. You know, I got this sort of glimpse of this fish as it skyrocketed past me. It's this big, beautiful yellowfin tuna, and then it just kept on going. Put my head up out of the water, and the boat just kept on going and going and going until it was bloody tiny. And they managed to obviously just follow the GPS line back. But so for those who don't know where the Wanganella Banks is located,
50 nautical miles off Cape Reinga, isn't it?
No, it's 48 hours steam from New Zealand. So we're actually closer to Australia's EEZ than we are New Zealand. So we were international waters. We were 2 days away from land. Very spooky spot to think you're being almost left behind, because it's just a little white. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got a little bright orange moustache, but it might be. Well, might help with a little bit of visibility, but just this. Hopefully, I was just wondering if I could find this little head floating around. But
do you ever carry one of those little like safety sausages somewhere in your wetsuit so you can, because they're tiny and then they unroll and they'll stick up like 2 meters and they're bright orange.
Yeah, we should. If we're in a situation where something like that could potentially happen, we definitely will. But we're normally pretty hands on. We're going to be filming from a boat, which needs to be close to the action of the divers. We generally don't have two groups that would split up too far.
Yeah.
If we're doing any dangerous diving, if we're not swimming around an island or swimming around some coast. So we in a situation when we go to the Three Kings, we'll quite often do that because there's big tides and.
Yeah, I've been there with your buddies too, and Nat actually shared a little bit. I dived with Nat and Rochelle.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah. Me.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it's like up there.
Yeah, I know exactly what it's like. It's bloody intimidating, and it's like Jurassic Park.
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary spots. Scary spot to dive in, just in terms of you're never quite sure what's going to pop up. Yeah, we've seen some crazy stuff out there, man.
Yeah.
Deep sea, like an oar. You know what an oarfish is?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're huge things, aren't they? I'm going to pull up a picture, refresh my memory. And the other thing, you guys caught a spawning of those tiny things, the Nautilus.
Paper Nautilus, man.
Yeah, I remember that too. Oh, looking at it, the oarfish looks more like a bloody eel, but with like almost like roosterfish things thrown off it. Like
I reckon, you know how the old sailors on those old sort of nautical charts, they have like the diagrams of like sea serpents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You never know. Something like that. They could have originated from something like that. They can get up over 4, 5, 6 meters long, like huge. You see these old photos of ones that are washed up, and there's 8 grown men holding this thing up.
Yeah.
But we found one of those, and that's a deep sea species. And like you were saying, that Paper Nautilus spawning event, that was
that was crazy. I remember that. And you guys got it like a mint, like the footage you guys got. It was so insane.
Poor bloody thing. So like a Paper Nautilus it's an Argonaut. So you imagine your tropical Nautilus, similar in shape, but it's made out of like a paper thin shell. They're really, really hard to find because as soon as they touch rocks, they smash the bits. And they live down deep. And just to put it into context, National Geographic, I think it was National Geographic, got in touch, and they've been trying to find an individual Nautilus to film for a project for years.
Oh, wow.
We somehow managed to stumble across a spawning event. And they were just getting hammered by everything, man.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Big kingies, when they get smashed to bits, all the small fish would hook into them. But so they were all females. I think on the inside of the shell, they were laid with lines of eggs.
Yep.
And I almost reckon, because it's like an Argonaut's like a species of octopus. So they're not actually connected to the shell, that they would line these eggs on the insides of their shells, and then they would ditch the shells. And it basically creates an environment that protects the eggs, protects the juveniles straight off the bat. And if they're in the right place, then they may not necessarily have to sacrifice themselves, but they definitely were. We also one of our boys ended up grabbing a couple and took them home for a feed as well, which didn't help. But they were delicious. It's our mate, it's Dre. He's from Tonga, and he's an absolute legend of a man, but he's just known for eating absolutely everything.
Yeah, cool. That's super cool. What an experience. Like, I always think of South Sea Spearos almost as like the meat eater of, what meat eater's done for, terrestrial-based land hunting. I think South Sea Spearos could have the same or similar impact with regards to spearfishing. I know that there's so much bullshit with distribution and stuff across international lines. Have you guys managed to get your stuff out and distribute it everywhere in the world now, or?
Nah, man, we're trying. We're trying. Well, it's so hard to get it overseas. I think we've got it in Switzerland, maybe.
How do people get it now? How are they getting it? Do they just go to your website and pay for it there? Is that the only way to get it if you're international?
At the moment, man, yeah. So we're coming into filming our 4th season, so we're into 4 years of filming now, and we've been trying to. I've got Aussies screaming out.
Yeah, 100%.
On socials, and we're trying so hard to get it there. Yeah. So the only ways that I know at the moment is we only have our first season on the website.
Yeah,
I think Dave's chucked that up, so you can purchase the season there.
Yeah.
But that only gives you season 1.
Yeah.
Either that, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this.
Yeah.
Or you just get a VPN.
You don't know. VPN. Yeah.
Just get a VPN and then jump on a TVNZ on demand, and then you can watch everything.
Yeah,
but
that's the other way.
It's real easy to get on. To get it off the website. Season 1, and they've got some wicked stuff in there, man. That's where we went to the Wanganellas, and we speared a couple of world record marlin. One of the boys, Nat.
Yeah.
Nat shot that marlin with a pole spear.
Yep.
90-something kilo, and then Rochelle beat the world record, and she got 100-something kilo fish. I almost got speared by one.
Yeah? Did it charge you?
Yeah, because Rochelle jumped in. I'm not going to spoil too much, but bugger it. And Rochelle jumped in, and it was just chaos, man. It was just this wicked meatball. So the story goes, so we went to the Wanganellas, and it took us 2 days to get there. When we put lures in, we were towing plastic to start with, teasers just to help find some fish. We saw 2 marlin. As soon as we put them in, and we're like, wicked, we're at the Wanganellas, it's on. That's all we saw. Oh man, from like 6 o'clock in the morning till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we were bummed out. We thought we'd come all this way and we were going to come out with nothing. Just had that feel about it. And so we sort of changed tactic, and it wasn't until about 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the afternoon, we found some fish. Nat shot his stripey on a pole spear, which was amazing. I was fast asleep, man. It's just woke up to chaos, and I've fallen asleep in all my gear. So I literally just sort of was waking up, lifted my mask up, just saw Nat throw himself over the side. I was like, fuck, fins on, grabbed my camera, threw myself over the side, hit the water, woke up, and marlin having a feed. Nat shot his fish, wicked. And then we found some more fish after that, and we got chuck Rochelle in, but it was a couple of marlin feeding on a bait ball, and it was just chaos. And unfortunately, the shot missed. But it was also one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. Like, far out, man. Like, I was just like, I'm staying in here. I'll see you later. Rochelle had to go back to the boat to reload her gun properly. It was quite a hard gun to load.
Yeah.
So that it would count for the world record, she had to go through the motions, and she couldn't do that in the water. So I stayed with this bait ball, and it was phenomenal, man. It's just this bait ball with probably about 30 marlin all hanging around it. And if I sat back at the right distance to carry on feeding, and these marlin would just cruise, and then just see one just go boof, and it would just light up with its stripes and just charge through this bait ball, slashing at it, and then just boof, and then it would cruise again. But there was this one marlin that came through on the opposite side of the bait ball, and it did exactly that, and it charged through, and it came up, but through the bait ball and up and right out of the water, and then it landed with me on the other side, and landed like right in front of me. Super wide angle lens. It was probably about a meter away. Just sort of skimmed off down to the side.
Crazy.
Yeah. Definitely sort of made me back off a little bit, but pretty incredible experience.
I wonder what their caloric output is like when they're in that feeding frenzy and they're lighting up, because it must have a significant biological cost. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, their energy output to change colors and light up like that. They're like a friggin' light bulb. I'd imagine they're pretty efficient, like, but with their own, you know, but it's just amazing, like, what they can do.
They're pretty successful at what they do, man. Like it's not like there was a big ball of fish and they were like, we need to smash this until it goes. I'm competing for every single fish with all of these guys. It was like a slow moving armada sort of shadowing this bait ball, and then you get 2 or 3 that would come through quite excited and be very successful in taking a fish out of there, and then they go back to cruising. So I think just with the location and just how just the ecosystem out there is just phenomenal. Yeah. So the Wanganellas is, I think, it's part of the Kermadec Rise.
Yeah, righto. Yeah,
the
far north of it.
Big geological rise that rises up. It brings all this beautiful, cold, nutrient-rich water up to the photic zone, where basically up to the light.
Yep.
And it kicks off the ecosystem in an amazing way. And we were looking on the sounder, man, there was just bait stacked up off the bottom that was just crazy, 60, 70, 80 meters high of just solid with bait.
Holy shit.
Yeah, man. So I think these marlin they'd just go down and they'd sort of work away, break off a chunk of that, bring them up to the surface and have a good feed.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah. So they're very lucky where they are. They're not there all the time, but
yeah,
definitely there when we were there. Thank God we found them. That was primo.
Mate, that's crazy. Our internet just blinked there. Internet just blinked there for a second, but that's pretty cool. What about a poo story, bro?
I mean, the old classic aqua poos, man, they're always a bit bloody stressful because
you guys, like I've seen those South Sea Spearo boys pull a couple of gags on you. One of them from memory was you had to hitch back to see your missus on the weekend. I remember watching this, and these fuckers G'd up one of their brothers or uncles or some shit, and he come and picked you up hitchhiking back to see your missus for the weekend, and then he's just basically pretended to be a nutter and driven you out into the middle of nowhere and then kicked you out of the car.
Bang on, bro. Bang on. It was just like some local joker. I said to the boys, right, I've been with you guys for 8 days. Bugger you. I'm going to go hitchhike and catch up with the missus. And they're like, bullshit. No, you're not. As soon as I said bullshit, I was like, fuck, now I have to. Anyway, long story short, when I was out on the road, they'd organised one of their mates to come pick me up.
Bob. Was it Bob?
Acid Bob, bro. Acid Bob. That's what I called him after this encounter. Acid Bob. Little did I know that these boys had gone and rigged up some cameras in the car. They jumped in the tray of this dude's truck. And I went through the motions. It was an emotional roller coaster, man. I was sitting there on the side of the road all stoked, like, yep, gonna go catch up with dinner. Wicked. And then my phone died, and then it got dark, and I realised it wasn't going to happen, so I started walking home, and then so I'm all bummed out, and then this car pulls up. Where you going? Christchurch. Wicked. I'm sky high again, and then started driving me down to Christchurch. Pulls off the motorway down the sketchy-ass side road, takes me out in the middle of nowhere, and then he's like, you know what, Sam, you have to get out now. I was like, oh,
you're really pissing me off.
And, I'm serious. You talk too much. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't have to talk. Can you at least take me back to the motorway? And he's like, nah. So please. All right. Can you promise me not to talk? I'd prefer it. And I asked him if I could drive for him, and he's like, nah. I'm not going to lie, Sam. I'm on some shit right now. And I'm like, oh, bloody hell. Here we go. Gets me back off to the motorway. Eventually jump in. I was like, sweet as, mate. You sure you're good to drive? And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. I was like, you're taking an acid tab or something? And he's like, yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm on. Sorry, mate. See you later. No idea how I'm going to get back. And anyway, sure enough, he turns around, comes at me, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm either going to get run over or I'm going to have a rumble with some 60-year-old man who's on drugs. Then all the boys pop out with cameras and shit, and they're all, fuck, man. Right.
Oh, it was a classic stitch up.
It's on the South Sea Spearo Facebook page, man.
Man.
It's a good gag, and I'll take my hat off to the boys. It was a hell of a stitch up.
They nailed it. It was so good. He stayed in character pretty well too.
He did amazing. He did so good, man. Yeah. Apparently, they tried to convince him to start stroking the inside of my leg. And be like, I can get you to Christchurch, Sam, but we're going to.
Oh, mate, you know you got
against it in case I decided to punch him and then run off with a dead phone, and then we'd have a bloody real situation on our hands. But hats off to you, mate. Good work.
You know you got good mates when they set you up for a gag like that. Far out.
We'll get it back one day.
Back to Dogtooth Tuna just for a sec. Do you know Jamie Rives, Deeply Immersed on Instagram? Do you follow him?
I think I've seen his stuff. Yeah.
I had him on the show, man. He's amazing. I'd thoroughly recommend you guys hook up with that dude. He's spent a long time studying them, and he's got a great working knowledge of it. I mean, even if people just want to learn about it, follow that guy on Instagram. He writes these huge friggin' things about their behavior and the systems he works and stuff like that. He's a really intriguing guy. Super interesting, and absolutely loves it. Guiding people. Yeah, I'd thoroughly recommend. That might be a cool South Sea Spearos episode. I'll come, by the way. I'll volunteer.
Sounds good, man. That sounds primo, man. I'm always keen to learn. It's been working hanging out with some of these more experienced boys and seeing, picking up on some of their behaviors and some of their hunting techniques while being in the water. But I mean, I'm far from being anywhere near knowledgeable enough to know an awful lot on doggies. But I've been lucky enough to shoot a couple. And yeah, just a really obsessive sort of fish. You know, they are just incredible. So I'm always keen to spend time in the water with anybody who knows their shit.
I'd love to shoot one myself. I don't know if I'm a good enough diver. A lot of people talk about deep diving all the time. Ocean Guardian and Noob Spearo have partnered up to bring you a 10% discount on the Freedom 7 or Scuba 7. These are shark deterrent devices brought to you by powerful Shark Shield technology, the world's most effective electrical shark deterrent, scientifically proven and tested, backed by governments, research, and multiple independent bodies. This is some of the best tech on the market. They continue to innovate and inspire. They've been doing this for more than 20 years. Check it out. noobspearo.com/OG. That's noobspearo.com/OG. When you get to Ocean Guardian, check out the Freedom 7 or Scuba 7. If you want to purchase, use the code NoobSpearo to save yourself 10% on your Shark Shield device. The Freedom 7, 10% off. Go to noobspearo.com/OG. Freediving for spearfishers at howtofreedive.com will help you to extend your breath hold, understand your body better, and put you in a better position when you actually get to go out spearfishing. This program is not for noobs, as this program is for people who have some diving under their belts and understand some basic spearfishing safety, but it's perfect for Spearos who want a guided, easy to follow and complete program with videos, a clear process, and a set goal. The 5-minute freediver works. Get started for free and see if it's for you at howtofreedive.com. There's a tester there. Use the code NoobSpearo, NOOBSPEARO, to save some money if you do decide to purchase. Check it out at howtofreedive.com. Freediving for spearfishers, a fantastic way to prepare, especially if you've got a big trip coming up. Get to that 5-minute mark, and it does translate to your diving at howtofreedive.com. I wanted to talk about MAHI Spearfishing. I see you're a founder. You guys have designed some cool floats. And we're talking about dogtooth now. Like, a couple of those look perfect for that sort of job. Walk us through, MAHI Spearfishing, what you guys are about.
Yeah, man. So that's just a little passion project put together by myself and my dad. We got locked down together and sort of put our heads together and worked on something that I've been wanting to sort of put together for a long time. He designs and manufactures paddleboards, my dad. Hardboards and inflatables. And so essentially just sort of with the same materials and sort of like similar technology going into one of these high-pressured floats, we managed to make something up. And it's been great, man. And that's all it was. It was a passion project that's been put together. It's been brought to life. And, made these floats for basically just something for me to use on my missions. And I want it to be able to pick up on everything that I want to shoot, from marlin to bluefin tuna to dogtooth tuna, as well as I've got a couple of different sizes. And man, it's been cool. It's been cool. They're in a lot of stores nationwide now here in New Zealand, working on trying to get some stuff overseas. And it's been wicked seeing, going out for a dive and seeing a MAHI float sort of cruising by, or someone with a MAHI float. It's
bro, I got to get your floats into Adreno.
Oh, mate, say the word, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to try and do it. I didn't realize it was you and your dad. And your dad's obviously got the technical knowledge. You've got the spearfishing in water sort of stuff. And then together you guys will be able to work out a pretty good iterative process, I guess, for developing your products. That's cool, man.
Yeah, it's been good, man. It's been good. And passed them off to the likes of Nat Davey and some of these guys on the show, Julian and Dwayne and stuff, getting input like, oh, no, that's shit. That's not. I like this. Yeah. It's been good. It's been good.
Spearos are hard to market to sometimes with some stuff. New Zealand's, despite tall poppy syndrome, or maybe in spite of it, Kiwi ingenuity is a thing. Like, and it's been around for a long time. Like in New Zealand, like despite spearfishing being a relatively tiny sport in a relatively tiny country, there's an amazing ecosystem of creatives in the spearfishing world there. Like, there's so many different gun manufacturers, retailers, and people making cool shit. Like, and you're just another one of them, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, man. I guess, yeah. It's you know, yeah, and you're absolutely right. There are some really creative, innovative divers here in New Zealand. You know, you got your Darren Shields and all that sort of carrying. I think you've your mates with Duncan Henderson.
Yeah. I use a roller he built for me all the time, and I've got a $1,300 timber spear gun right next to it, and they're both nice to shoot. But the roller's my go-to. You know, like just a meter roller. I love it. It's good for shooting everything. I shot a 15-kilo Spanish with it the other day, and that's my go-to.
Man, I've actually just before, literally, the reason why I was busy before this podcast is actually packaging up a couple of guns to send to him.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're heading to this to Minerva Reef, and I need an upgrade on the guns. So
is he going to build you an inverted or a double? What are you doing?
Oh, I've got a 110 and a 125. So I want to double roll of the 125 in case anything big swims past. Apparently there's some yellowfin and stuff out there, and some decent wahoo, maybe doggies, and just a single roller for the 110. Chuck a reel on that, take it out on the reef, and it's a perfect size sort of gun, I think, for everything that New Zealand sort of throws at you. You know, a 100 roller or a 110 roller would tick most of the boxes. So.
Yeah. Oh, mate, so nice with the carbon barrel. This gun's just weighs nothing, tracks beautifully, and shoots everything. Great range. I can honestly not fault this gun he built for me. Oh, apart from the shooting line retainer is on the wrong side of the spear gun. So I go to load it, and I'm always pulling the shooting line back down the wrong side of the gun, and then I've got to, it's just. But anyway, I'm trying to I've got to try and convince him to bloody start making them all the time. But he's into his engineering game now, so he's a harder and harder man to pin down.
He does some good stuff. Yeah. Creative too. I think he did a bit of work on a mate's gun, and he turned the trigger into a nicely curved cock. And he didn't tell him that's what he'd done. He just little penis, this penis trigger.
Oh, that's fantastic. Love that. Thoughtful. Yeah. What a thoughtful gift. With social media, Sam, we're just circling back to that. We started off the conversation talking about it. Like, you're a pretty popular bloke. The more and more content you create, more and more people want to connect with you. How do you manage to, still be yourself and be cool and outgoing and stuff, but be healthy and have a balance in life? Because, like, I look at Daniel Mann's videos on YouTube, and he'll have like 200 or 300 comments for a video he releases. I'm like, and then he talks back to all the people, and I'm just like, bro, how do you have the bandwidth to do that? And my question to you is kind of the same. Like, you're another dude who's a super cool guy making super cool shit. How do you sort of manage that side of things?
Well, firstly, cheers, man. I mean, even to be mentioned in the same sentence as Daniel Mann's a hell of a compliment. He's a hell of a bloke, hell of a diver, puts out some amazing content. But yeah, it's definitely something that now it sort of needs to be managed in the sense that like beforehand, I tried to do what Daniel does, and I tried to reply to absolutely everything. But I've sort of had to back off and sort of tone back on that just because I can't let it sort of interfere with anything sort of real life behind the scenes, like with my partner or with family and stuff like that. As soon as it starts to affect that, or I'm spending too much time, that's when I know that I just have to sort of step things back a little bit. So I try my hardest to get back to as much as I can, but I definitely do have to sort of mitigate things. But there's no real plan with the social media. It's all just all keep it organic, man. If people want to follow along, this is what I do. This is me, and it's been wicked. I've got met some really cool people along the way. Like yourself, man. Been in touch over the socials for a few years now, and made some really good mates. And it's it's been a cool journey.
Awesome, bro. Yeah, burnout's a thing, and like I talk to guys like you, and I realize probably when it starts to really struggle on your bandwidth, and I could see that happening to you. So that's kind of why I was asking. Having said that, where can people come and connect with you when they want to? You're Sam in the Wild on Instagram, all one word with an underscore at the end, awkwardly.
Yes, yeah. I think someone else had taken the proper name, so I got a little underscore.
No,
I know. But yeah, man. So just I'll chuck some stuff up on Instagram and the Facebook page with the same name. Haven't really dived into the world of TikTok as of yet.
Me either.
Oh man, I just know that I'll end up just coming to life 2 hours later after spending 2 hours scrolling on TikTok. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to back off on that until I desperately have to. But yeah, pretty much Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to try and start putting some stuff up on YouTube soon. Again, I used to do a lot of that back in the day, but with some of this other filming that's been going on, it's taken the shine off editing. But I've made an active goal this year to start putting some more stuff together. So
cool. Well, it's awesome to get you on the podcast, man. Finally, I mean, and I hope we can chat more if you've got exciting stuff coming up. So MAHI Spearfishing, I really want to encourage people to go and check out this line of floats you've got. Check it out at MAHI, MAHI _Spearfishing NZ. These guys have got, Sam and his dad have got 3 fantastic looking floats there, particularly if you're starting to muck around in that blue water game. And the pricing's like pretty decent as well, looking at the quality of the items. So definitely encourage people to do that. Where else? What else are you working on, Sam? What's coming up for you? What are you excited about? So you talked about that trip where you're waiting for a weather window. What else you got coming up?
Oh man, yeah, just we've finished. So with 3 seasons under the belt with South Seas, we only have 2 episodes that we have filmed for the new season. So we have at least half a dozen, which could end up being another 10 trips throughout the year. So I always love those trips, man. Like all of these guys, it's pretty much just the boys' trip. These guys are my mates.
Yeah,
we give each other shit. We have a lot of fun. So I always look forward to them. Heading over to Europe to go visit some family, of course, that'll be fantastic. And I think we are coming over to Aussie in July, hopefully, to come and dive the reef out there. So we've got some cool stuff coming up, man, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Make sure when you reconnect with your nudist roots, you do that in Europe and not in Australia, all right?
Hey mate. I'll be stripping off an Aussie, don't you?
No, that's good, bro. It's awesome, Sam. Great chat with you, bro. And thanks for giving us some of your time, man.
Hey, super stoked to finally catch up, man. Yeah, really enjoyed being here. Cheers, man.
Hey guys, I hope you really enjoyed listening to Sam. Such a cool dude, really great vibe. It really gets the spearfishing lifestyle. And as I mentioned, an avid hunter above and below the water. Jump on social media and please follow him. He's got a huge amount of followers already. But Sam in the Wild _ on Instagram, super cool guy, doing awesome things in it. His photography and the way he goes about doing things is just very cool, very cool. And it's he's just another legend Kiwi and just great guy to have around the traps in our community. So, hey, as mentioned before the show, if you would love to become a patron supporter of the show, you can do it on an episode by episode basis for as little as $2 an episode. Go to patreon.com/Noob Spearo. Join 45 other legends putting fuel in the Noob Spearo outboard and keeping this sucker going. Also, there's the competition to win some Noob Spearo merch. Get yourself a signed copy of 99 Spearo Recipes and a t-shirt of your choice. Simply tag Noob Spearo on Instagram with you in your bit of Noob Spearo kit, whether you've got a Spearo Dad shirt or a Jobfish tribute shirt or a Rancid Pelican or whatever you've got, a Noob Spearo hat, some stickers, even the thongs. There's Noob Spearo thongs, everyone. Go to noobspearo.com, up into the store, check out our merch, and if you tag us on Instagram, go into the draw this April and May to win yourself some more. All good, my friends. Thanks for listening so much to the Noob Spearo podcast. Your support means everything. Come back in 2 weeks. I've got a couple of legends joining me. It's Trevor Kitchen, James Sacker. We talk about ChatGPT. And I asked ChatGPT what its 10 top ethical concerns are with spearfishing. And then we kind of go through the list and have a bit of a chat about whether it's a legit concern or not. And the boys, as usual, are pretty funny. So come back in 2 weeks and I'll see you then. All good, my friends. Catch up. Danny says, Adreno, you guys are ahead of the game. Price is very competitive. Customer service is fantastic. Speed of delivery from your warehouse is the best I've ever experienced. And everything I have purchased was in stock. Great experience. Highly recommend these guys for anything to do with what happens and what you need to get under the water. that review from Danny. Check him out at adreno.com.au. These guys do a fantastic job outfitting Noob Spearos from all over, particularly Australia. But check them out at adreno.com.au. You can save $20 on every purchase over $200. Not only can you use it online, but you can also use it in-store. They've got 2 stores in Brisbane. They've got Gold Coast, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth. Check them out. They are doing good things. adreno.com.au. Absolutely mint customer service. Specialty spearfishing equipment, elite spear gun performance components, unforgettable reliability. You want to find out where to buy this? Punch in Neptonics.com and shop at the best US spearfishing store, Neptonics.com. Free shipping to the lower 48 when you spend over $199, and you can use the code NOOB10 to save 10%. This is your chance to save dosh. Buy deadly good gear and experience A-grade customer service. Will you shop at the best? Visit Neptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to start shooting 35-pound muttons tomorrow. Actual performance may differ from advertisement. Please refer to terms and conditions to see if you're eligible to be a legend like Shrek. This advertisement was not even endorsed by Jerry and the team at Neptonics. Hoorah and God bless you.